at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering, I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What up, dogs? Welcome back to another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. We're back with another awesome guest. I'm joined by Maddie Watkins, aka Maddie from 202 Strong. Maddie, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
It's awesome. Maddie, what's your day look like today? I know you said you had some time after 1 o'clock. What was your morning like? What time did you wake up today?
I woke up at 5. I had my first client at 5:45 in the morning.
Woo.
And I taught a class. I had another client. I taught a virtual class, and here I am.
Oh, man. Are you a morning bird or are you an early bird?
I'm an early bird. I would much rather get up at 5 and go to bed at 9 than go to bed at like 12 and wake up at 8 or 9.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm not so much an early bird. I like to work out in the morning. I'm like a 9 o'clock kind of person for working out. But I coach the 6 a.m. here tomorrow, and I'm already dreading it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get in the routine so that you can fall asleep early.
Yeah.
And just wake up early. Otherwise, it's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Maddie, how did you get into being a personal trainer and fitness? What's your athletic background? Did you play sports growing up?
I did. In high school, I was a competitive figure skater, or growing up, I should say. I was a competitive figure skater. And in high school, I played competitive field hockey. I dabbled in swimming, basketball, lacrosse, soccer. So I was always athletic.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, all I was doing was running and your typical like elliptical, burning calories kind of fitness.
Yeah.
And then, I hurt my knee, and so I couldn't run anymore, and that's kind of how I found weight training and got
nice. How'd you get into figure skating? Was that something that your parents did, your mom did before you, or even your dad?
No, my younger brother played ice hockey, but really what I loved was I watched the Olympics with Tara Lipinski and Michelle Kwan, and I said, I want to do that.
That's awesome.
And that kind of spurred that passion.
How old were you when you started that?
I think I was 11 or 12. So I was older for the figure skating world.
Right. Because I've had gymnasts usually, of course, and then ballet, I don't even know, ballet dancers and people around that field of sports on. And they're of course, they start real young, so I figured figure skating would be around the same time. What was the training for that at 11 years old?
It was pretty intense. You could make it whatever you wanted. Of course, I was all in and competitive. So I was skating before school and after school and doing off ice training and, ballet, which I didn't really like. So I didn't do much ballet, but Pilates. And it was a full-time job, but
that's crazy.
I think it helped to shape me kind of growing up as the person I am today. Yeah.
Did you love it the whole time you did it?
I loved it. Yeah, everything was about skating. I loved the practices. Even in high school, I remember one time I had to miss homecoming for a skating competition, and it was worth it to me to miss that homecoming.
That's awesome. So you said your brother did ice hockey, right? Did you know how to skate before you got into figure skating?
Yeah, I mean, I remember my dad taking me when I was really young, and I was pretty bad and afraid, and I would only pick up one leg, so I'd only skate on one foot, really. Yeah. And then I don't know, I just kind of all of a sudden decided I'm going to take lessons, and this is what I'm doing. So
do you come from a healthy family? Like you said, your brother played sports. Does the rest of your family think about health and work it out?
They do now. Growing up, I remember my mom was always running. She was playing tennis, eating healthy. So yeah, I guess I did come from a healthy family. It wasn't something where fitness was like thrown upon us or we had to eat a certain diet or anything, but we were raised active and eating well.
That's awesome. That's like really important, right? And I think over the past 20 years, especially, like the trend has been growing about people eating family dinners, eating together, being generally active, right? When I first got into CrossFit, I don't think I really understood what sedentary meant, because I think I lived a sedentary life before I was really into fitness. It's so many people really just go to work, go home, and then sit on the couch, so much. Yeah. And they just don't have a ton of activity, right? So that hereditary thing of like, we're going to be a family that moves is really important,
And thinking about that now as a grown-up, that's absolutely something. And for me, it doesn't necessarily even have to be organized sports, but if I were to ever have, a family or raise children, it would be, I want you to move. I want you to play. I remember just going outside and riding my scooter around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in front of the TV or playing on an iPad, which I didn't have as a kid, but these days, just making that normal so that when you're just sitting all day, you don't feel good. You don't want to sit all day.
Yeah, it's crappy, right? Like if I even have days where I'm like tired and I just go and I take a rest day, like literally lay down all day. The next day I feel worse. I never feel better after just relaxing all day,
Right.
I should say very rarely do I feel better after just like laying on the couch all day, because sometimes it is necessary,
Sometimes you need it and your body just says, I need to stop. But if you're doing that every single day, then you probably don't need it as much.
Crazy. This is just refreshing my mind. Like I remember being young, probably like 8 to 12, right before the teenage years hit. And like, I was always just like, do what you said, like just going outside, like going on my bike, going on a scooter or something like that. Cause like those things are fun. And they hit the teenage years, then I guess you get cool and you don't want to do things like that anymore. And it's just like, wow, why are people like this? But anyway, back to you. So you said you hurt your knee at some point. Like what happened with that?
It was your typical, all I did was run. So I had tendonitis in my knee and it got to the point where it hurt so badly I physically couldn't run anymore.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at pushing through pain. So I asked a trainer at my local gym to show me the weight room because I said, I have to work out, but I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to the barbell. This was back in, I think, 2008.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, this is like exercise. This is so hard. Everything hurts. I'm crushed at the end of the strength training workout.
That's funny.
Like, what is this?
What did you guys do like on the first like session when he first showed you the barbell? Do you remember?
All I remember, we did deadlifts, we did back squats, pull-ups with a whole lot of bands, overhead presses. And then he was a CrossFit trainer, or he worked out at CrossFit, but like way back in the day.
Yeah.
So he had that kind of background. So we did wall balls and burpees. And that was like, wow.
Yeah. Some cardio, but like a different kind, right? Like not just your regular running and elliptical.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So you started falling in love with it right away?
Right away. I was hooked. I remember one of the first workouts we did, he had a group that would use the yoga studio and we did the Filthy 50, if you're familiar with the Filthy 50.
Yeah.
But it was 10 exercises, 50 reps of each. And I just remember thinking, I'm like going to die. How am I going to do this? Burpees. Now burpees are my favorite movement. I love them, but it's just funny to look back and be like, we all start somewhere.
So you dive head first into it. Like, do you keep working with that same trainer? Like it's like you're talking about right now, like going to the yoga studio, doing those things?
No, he's moved. But he was my mentor when I became a personal trainer. So, we're still friends. He has a very special place in my heart just because he helped me kind of get on this journey and give me that confidence that I could do it. But
right. That's awesome. Back then, I'm freaking sweating so hard. I just worked out right before this too. Back then, where was your head at? Like, what did you think you wanted to do with like your life?
At that point, so I was in college, I was studying microbiology and I didn't know if I wanted to go to med school, if I wanted to be a cardiologist, if I wanted to study genetics and epigenetics and research like how our diet affects our gene expression.
Yeah.
So I was dabbling in the sciences.
The health sciences, especially. Yeah.
Health sciences. Yeah. And I volunteered in a cath lab and decided that cardiology and being a doctor is not for me. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. I feel that.
I'm not strong enough for this. And then I just decided I want to be a personal trainer. And my parents kind of looked at me funny. And I said, I'm going to do this, and never looked back. So
That's awesome. That was after you had like started working with the barbell with the trainer, right?
it was.
Yeah. Back then, what did you think like it would look like to have a full-time job as a personal trainer? Did you have like any idea?
I don't think I thought ahead. I had just graduated college, and all I remember thinking was the certification costs $1,000. So I have to work to make at least $1,000. And then if I hate it, I can quit.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I have to do.
That's funny.
But I definitely didn't have any like real goals or plan. It was just more one day at a time, which part of me like envies that youth in me.
Yeah.
I'm just like one day at a time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about everything.
Are you not like that now? Now are you like a big planner?
Yes and no. I like to feel in control through plans.
Yeah.
But I guess part of me is still like, oh, we'll just see what happens. Let's roll with it.
That youthful innocence, right? That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I heard that. Like I'm looking back now, I'm trying to like think when I first fell in love with it and like what I thought it was going to look like, you know, like being a full-time personal trainer or coach, things like that. And just like what I thought I was going to be doing every day, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I thought I'd be working out every day, and that would be really cool just to be in the gym all the time instead of having to make time for the gym.
Yeah.
Then you realize you still have to make time for your own workout.
Yeah. So what was the first cert you got way back then?
It was the NASM cert.
Yeah, that was my second one. I got my level 1, CrossFit level 1 first, then I got the NASM right after that. So how did that go? How was your first like client experience? Like when you first worked with somebody?
I wish it was recorded. I would love to see what I like put them through, which my friend, my trainer who helped me, he like, I would say like, is this a good workout? Because I mean, you take a cert, but let's be real, you kind of need some mentorship.
For sure.
Of how to program a workout. I was so shy. Like talking to new people would just make me sweat. I didn't know what to say. So I was probably just standing there silent. And it makes me appreciate.
Just like, hi, what are those?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know like if I really taught them anything or if I just told them what to do. It was so long ago. I don't remember, but I remember I was super like so nervous.
Yeah. Where were you first working at or starting off at?
It was a Washington Sports Club here.
Nice. So were you given clients or did you have to like find your own in the gym?
I was given clients, and I remember I was hired right when a personal trainer had left or something happened. So I got an influx of clients pretty quickly. And that was, nice. And so I got that experience, but that was in 2010, May of 2010. Okay. And to this day, some of those clients are still with me, which is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. You've been doing it for a long time then.
Long time, yeah.
That's great. So when you first started, right? I know you were just talking about, I wish I could remember like what I did. When you start getting some steam behind you, like what did your workouts look like, right? Like what were you doing with people?
I was doing solely functional movements, and I learned how to program. And to this day, I still kind of write workouts this way of like a lower body pull, an upper body push, and a core, right? Nice. So I would couple I would do 3 movements. Maybe it was a deadlift, a push-up, and a plank hold, for example.
Yeah.
And have them go through 3 sets of that. And so that they were getting a well-rounded full body strength. It was never arm day or back day or lower body, upper body. It was always our body moves as one unit. Let's train it as that.
Yeah.
And then later on, I started incorporating some more circuit style, higher intensity into the sessions.
That's awesome. What's your training looking like at that time? What are you doing to work out in the very beginning?
I'm pretty sure I was doing similar to what I was giving my clients.
Yeah.
And then some CrossFit style workouts. I didn't join a CrossFit gym until 2011. So there was a year where I was just basically doing CrossFit, but at Washington Sports Club, like box jumps, wall balls.
Yeah. What they have like a term for that, like renegade CrossFit or something like that, where people were like doing it like in a regular gym. I did that for like, I think 2 years at least before I went to a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
You know, one of the goofy people off in the corner, like dying on box jumps and wall balls, like you're talking about right now. Everybody else is doing bicep curls.
Exactly.
You know?
That was me.
And then I go back to a CrossFit gym and I want to do the bicep curls again.
Right.
That's funny. So you start picking up more and more clients. When do you start feeling more comfortable with like telling people like what to do and like introducing yourself to new people?
I think it took just a couple of months. I wouldn't say it was that long. But in 2011, so about a year later, I started coaching group classes. And I distinctly remember like being super shy. And now I'm in front of a lot of people. So it was probably over a year until I really gained that confidence.
Yeah.
And have more of a voice. But now I look back on myself like 5 years ago and I'm like, I'm so much better than I was even 5 years ago. So I guess each year, I mean, if you're not improving,
yeah, when you dedicate yourself to it. That's amazing. Yeah. When you go up in front of that group, do you remember the first class where like, I know that for me, like first time I was like so gung-ho to start coaching, like in a group class setting after I'd done like personal training clients, right? Then I'll never forget the first class. I walk up in front of everyone after I'd already talked to all these people that I all know. And I felt like the bright lights just got so much brighter in my face. And I'm like, oh my God, do I even know what I'm going to say right now? Did you ever have any moments like that?
I'll never forget the first class I taught was at the CrossFit gym, and we were near USIS, so the military medical school. And it was a bunch of guys my age, big dudes in the military, and our strength was bench press. And I was like, I have nothing to say. I'm this like young girl, I don't know, 23, 24, teaching these guys bench press. I thought, oh my goodness, but you gotta start.
Yeah, you made it through too. So did you keep coaching at the CrossFit gym? Did you like to pick up some classes there?
I did. I eventually left Washington Sports Club and I trained my clients at that CrossFit gym.
Nice.
And I coached classes with them. And I learned a lot from that gym and the owner and another one of the coaches there. It was a great community.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you transition over to there. Does your training style with your PT clients look any different? Is that when it starts to morph a little bit when you go into the CrossFit gym?
Yeah, that's when I started, doing more like 5x5s with the lifts and having my clients go a little heavier. We definitely incorporated more Metcon style conditioning at the end. And so I did that for a pretty long time, actually. And then I kind of reverted back and I combined the two. And so I have a nice blend of both.
That's awesome. When you do you ever feel like you had to do it one way or the other? Because I know that I've been in those situations before and it's so free when you're like, what, there's not really a rule. I can do some like CrossFit methodology. I can do some bodybuilding. I can put it all together. Did you ever have any moments where you're like, I have to do it like this?
Yeah, I think for a long time, I felt like the CrossFit methodology was the only way. And the other things, like the other movements were silly. Like, why would I do these other movements?
Yeah.
And that's just the world that I was in. But honestly, like with any training, it's like, if you have a purpose behind what you're doing, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? So now I like to have more well-rounded. So the big lifts, like a deadlift, but then some other accessory movements. So like some isolated hamstring, some core, some isolated like upper back.
Right.
Just to build all of that together.
That's what like we really should be doing, and should's like a very, whatever word, but you don't want to neglect those things, right? Like it's awesome to do like a Metcon where you're deadlifting, doing burpees, pull-ups, all in the same thing, but it's also great sometimes to do exactly what you just said, like isolate a muscle, like whether that be prehab or rehab or anywhere in the middle, right? Like just to strengthen one specific muscle. I like what you just said. If you know your purpose, what do you think is like your purpose? Why did you get into training outside of you just fell in love with the barbell when the trainer showed it to you?
I wanted to help make strength training and the barbell more accessible to women, specifically when I first started. I remember I was at that Washington Sports Club and I was doing a lat pull down and I was just working out on my own. And this random guy that I had seen around the gym pretty often came up to me and said, wow, it's really cool to see strong women lifting weights. And like this light bulb went off in my head and I was like, yes, it is. And I would love to help other women, you know, learn how to do this because I knew nothing. And I would never walk into the weight room by myself. And I was so intimidated. And so I wanted to kind of give that power to more women. And now, you know, it's men and women because there's a lot of men who don't know how to lift either.
Right.
That's okay. And I want to teach you.
I love that it's becoming like more and more normalized. I know that we still have like a ways to go, but like more normalized that women are in the weight room, right? And they're doing all the same things as men because fitness and strength in general is for everybody. You know, it's so silly to think about that. People make it a weird thing that women like lift weights. So you had that positive experience. Have you ever had the negative experience where people were like, what are you doing? Why are you lifting? Girls aren't supposed to do that.
No, I never have.
Oh, that's awesome. Now that's good right there.
Yeah. And maybe it's just like the people that I've been around, but no, I've never had that negative experience. However, when I was in college, before I started lifting, my roommate would go to the weight room and she would like back squat like 200 pounds. And I would go on the elliptical burning calories. And I was like, why are you doing that?
So you were the person who was
person.
Yeah. That's funny. And like, probably not even in a negative way. It's just like you had never seen the representation yourself before that. And she was it to you, you know, that's cool.
And to me back then, fitness, like I worked out to solely burn calories. And in my head, it didn't comprehend that like squatting heavy would burn like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
When on the elliptical, it's telling me I'm burning 500 calories.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have that right in front of your face. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very outdated mindset. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Did you guys ever end up squatting together afterwards? Like once you started hitting the weight room?
A little bit. Yeah. But then she stopped lifting weights and got more into running. And so we've always been flip-flopping. Yeah.
That's funny. So you go along your journey. It's been, 10, 12 years now since 2010 when you first got you said 2010 was when you first got your cert, right?
Yeah.
Back then, did you think that you would be running a gym? Was that ever in your mind? No.
And I have this distinct memory of a client asking me, you know, so what do you want to do next? Do you want to open a gym? Like, what's the next step? And I said, no, that's way too much work. I don't want to have.
When was that?
This must have been 2013, maybe 2012.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, I decided I was going to open a gym and we opened in 2015. So no, that was never, ever a thought of mine. I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about running a business, leading a team. Like it was so far, like in a realm that I couldn't even comprehend.
Yeah. That's crazy. I love all the things that you just talked about right there. Had you ever done any team leadership before? Have you ever looked at yourself as a leader?
Nope. I looked at myself as someone who's pretty shy and not a public speaker. Like public speaking I would speak 1,000,000 miles a minute and sweat and like stumble on my words. So no, I never saw myself as someone who could lead a team or run a business.
How did you like develop leadership skills? How'd you go about that? Like it becoming less nervous?
I think you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, once I committed to opening this gym, I opened it with a business partner. And so we were partners for about a year, 9 months to a year. And then we split ways. But so I think having that gave me that extra little boost behind my, confidence that there's someone else doing this with me.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like, you just have to get thrown into it. And then now all of a sudden,
fire, right?
I have someone working for me. So I have to lead by example and I have to tell them and show them how to do this job or train coaches. I've never done that before in my life prior to 202 Strong. So learn as you go.
When the student becomes a teacher and has to like then go share the information with everybody else, that's a tough moment. I remember first time I had to go through that. What about the business side of it? Like, how did you start to learn about that?
Honestly, I would say each day I learned something new. And if someone asked me, like I remember negotiating my lease and the landlord's company came to me and said, this is your COI, your LOI. I'm sorry, your LOI. And I was like, oh, okay. And I Googled, what does that stand for?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So this is what I get before the lease. And so I just like learned as I went. And I don't know, I was never afraid to ask questions or admit that I don't know something. And so I was able, with the guidance and help of some people saying like, you need X, Y, and Z, or you need this. It was more just, let's learn as we go.
Have you always been like that? Like someone that's not afraid to ask questions and ask for help?
Yes, because I'm stubborn and I don't like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
I like to figure it out on my own. In all facets of life. So I guess I'm better that way.
That's great. Oh, what about, are you a person that like feels overwhelmed with things? Like, do you ever like get in those situations, or are you always just kind of like even keeled across?
No, I get overwhelmed, and I dealt with a ton of anxiety for pretty much the whole time up until COVID, up until the pandemic. It was like, I would think, oh my gosh, what if every coach leaves tomorrow and I have no coaches? Or what if I can't do this? Or what if? And like, I would just constantly have those thoughts running in my head that I found I wasn't actually very happy or enjoying the process because I was so consumed with the anxiety of everything.
Yeah. Why were you like making these what ifs in your head? Was it just like kind of how you were, who you are?
I think, that was something that was inherent to I don't want to say inherent to my personality, but something that I needed to heal and learn from and grow just as a person. And it was kind of coming through with my coaches because that never happened to me. Yeah. My coaches I was never in a situation where I had no one.
Where like abruptly everyone just left. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was something that I created in my head, and figuring that out, I think, has helped me grow not only as a leader, but as a person.
Yeah. So what did COVID do that helped you like alleviate that stress and anxiety?
It just shut everything down. It collapsed everything, and it made me realize how everything is completely out of my control, and I can only control what I can control. And to waste my energy focusing on the what ifs, it's like, okay, if that happens, then I'll deal with it. And I'm human, right? My business is not some machine that has to be perfect every day.
Yeah.
And kind of giving myself that grace. And at the end of the day, it always works out, right? And there's never any like major issues, but it's figuring that out for me in my head.
I love how you just put that, like your business isn't a machine, like you're human. And like, that's what the business is all about, helping humans and sharing who you are with other people, like that people can really connect with that. So let's talk about the gym actually. So where did 202 come from? Like when you first started it, what were you thinking of names? Like, what's that whole process like?
Thinking of a name is a really challenging task to do.
So hard. People like underestimate it so much.
It's one of the hardest things, and it's going to live with your brand forever. 202 is the DC area code. And that felt fitting because, I'm born in this area. DC was like the big city. And then strong, because obviously physically strong and building physical strength. But for me, weightlifting was more about the mental strength and emotional strength. And so strong can encompass so many things. And just putting the two together. And at first I hated the name, and it like had to grow on me, but it comes to a point where it's like, we need a name. So this is what it is.
So is this the location that you're at right now? Is that where you guys started at?
No, this was my second location. The I Street location in DC was my first location,
nice.
Which has since closed because of COVID. And then this location is where all my clients were. So when I was about to open DC, I was like, what am I going to do with my whole personal training clients? Like they need a place to go. They're not going to go into the city. So I found a 1,500 square foot tiny space. And I made that the second 202 Strong. And then we expanded that and tripled in size about 2 years later. but it started as a temporary kind of holding space. I was like, I just want a 6-month lease to see if this is even feasible.
Yeah. It's crazy. So you went from like not knowing anything on leases and not knowing anything about business to like, okay, I need like a little holding spot now.
Right.
That's crazy. So as you have all your clients from before, that's what you were just talking about. And how do you go about growing? How do you bring more people in?
That's always the tough question, right?
Yeah.
Like getting the name out there. Downtown DC, we had a prime location with a ton of foot traffic. I mean, right in Farragut Square, Farragut North. So people were always walking by, and we would put signage out there. So that's how we started to get members. And then just Googling gyms near me. But I remember one of my big goals was I want everyone to at least have heard of 202 Strong. Maybe you haven't come in and taken a class. Maybe you don't really know what we are, but you've heard the name. You know that gym exists.
Right. Like if people are out to dinner and they're having a conversation and someone brings up 202, it's like, oh, I know where that place is, or I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just getting people to talk about it, posting a ton on social media. And still to this day, it makes me really happy when, someone's like, oh, I was talking to someone and they mentioned 202 Strong. And that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like, because I mean, the brand is important,
Very. Yeah.
So what does a class look like when people walk in there?
So our classes are 45 minutes. We want you moving the whole time. So once you come into class, your coach is going to guide you through a warm up. It's about like 6 to 8 minutes. And then we have a strength portion. So no matter who is in class that day, your coach is going to teach the barbell movement. We're going to break it down. We're going to warm it up all together, piece by piece. And I always tell my team to coach it to the lowest common denominator. So hopefully that brand new individual.
Very
and
important.
In those like 2 minutes, that person should know how to move this barbell.
Yeah.
That's my thought process. Then we lift all together on the clock. That takes about 15 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes are going to be our strong circuit, which is going to be like that hit, push. Typically, that's going to be more plyometric body weight, maybe med ball dumbbell based. A couple times we throw in the barbell. But so then we'll review that. We'll go over all the movements. We'll set up, hit it, stretch, you're done.
Yeah. That's awesome. A nice 45 minutes moving the whole time. And I think for anyone that's out there listening right now, if you are a coach, if you are a new coach, especially, what you just said is really important. Coach to the lowest common denominator. You should always teach like you're teaching like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, something like that. Like that way you can bring everybody and make it super accessible,
Exactly. And I think a lot of newer coaches feel that, oh, well, everyone else already knows what they're doing. Why am I saying this? And it's like, sure, maybe they think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But A, they don't. They're a member in this class for a reason. And B, at least this warms them up and they hear the same cues or different ways of saying something over and over again. Something will eventually click.
Right.
That maybe you think they know what they're doing. And then like, oh, wow, like that made a huge difference.
Some of the biggest feedback and one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that you can't correct something that you didn't teach. Right. So like say there's a very basic thing that someone's doing maybe incorrectly and you try to go correct them afterwards. It's like, well, you didn't teach that. So always say the simple stuff,
Yeah, I like that.
Really easy way to go about things. It's like you can just cast a wide net with that, I mean, you're there to teach people. You're there to help them move better. You're there to help them improve their life. So, do all the small things correctly.
Right.
So what is next for you now? I know you said someone asked you that question before. You were like, oh, I have no idea. Do you have any idea what's next for you now, like going forward?
Honestly, I thought I wanted a ton of locations and to continue expanding, but I really want to just grow the community here at our Neville Street location. I have an amazing team of coaches. I want to foster that like community of coaches and reach more people in this area. I have a full book of personal training clients, so I want to maintain that and then experience other parts of life. I've dedicated so many years to like solely focusing on business, and there's so much else in life. It's not that I want to stop or anything, but find that balance, which I think is very hard to do.
Yeah, it's important, right? Because like with your goal, with your passion of showing women that they should be in the weight room. You know, it's not just you being in the gym every day, like as that representation. It's you going out in the world and showing people what a lifestyle of a woman that's in the weight room looks like. You know, like I do all these things and I can do them better. I can do them faster. I can do them just generally better overall because I'm in the weight room, you know?
Yes. I went on a hike a few weeks ago with a friend and we were like climbing over this really narrow rock and we had to use so much balance and core strength. And I was like, I know I can do this because I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident in my core strength, my leg strength. And that all goes back to the weight room.
Yeah.
And so now I can hike and not be afraid, or I can do whatever and know, you know, my body can do this. And that's a really good feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. The confidence you get from being strong is just, you can't even measure it, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
overall improvement in quality of life is something that's just invaluable there. What's your favorite lift to do, Maddie?
I love power cleans. Oddly enough, I love strict press.
Oh,
Yeah, I know it's weird, but I like that lift. Pull-ups, I think, are my favorite. I don't know. I like them all. I like to deadlift. I like to squat.
I like to do all the things. Yeah, I heard that. What's your favorite movement to teach?
Ooh. Probably the deadlift, I think, because I had such a hard time understanding that movement. It made zero sense in my brain. And when people deadlift, they can really lift heavy and it's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Also, so many people are terrified that it's going to hurt your back and that deadlifts are so bad for you. And so to show someone how to use their legs and to stabilize their back and use their core, and they're like, oh, wow, this is like, it's good for me. It's good for my back. It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
It's such a transferable lift into everything else that I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, people really feel like a sense of accomplishment, right? When they pick up something heavy off the floor and they do it well, you know?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, my back didn't hurt at all. No,
Yeah.
that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's always an awesome thing to be there for, right? When someone like picks up something super heavy and they've never done it before and then they do it right. And like, you know, they feel really accomplished. It's always great to be there for people like that. So we just talked about it a little bit, but so Maddie, what are you hungry for now? Like what's not next for you, but what are you chasing after right now?
I'm chasing after the community here at Neville Street. I want more people in this Rockville area to get in with different groups of people, whether that's the running community or maybe more athletes, but just kind of get more bodies into this gym, be able to, you know, help more people, change more lives, and grow that so that also my coaches, you know, have the ability to do that as well.
Right. That's amazing. Grow the community and then everyone benefits for that, you know. Yeah. Maddie, you have any other shout outs you want to do at the end of the episode? We shout out the gym a bunch of times. I'm glad that we were able to say the name so much. Want to shout out any coaches or anything like that?
Oh man, my whole team, but I have a lot of coaches. So
shout out to the whole staff then. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. If you work at 202 Strong, you know who you are. You're awesome because they're the people who help me keep this place going. I could never do it just on my own. So all the different personalities and the expertise and the hunger to learn and be better and help people is just awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, this place wouldn't be what it is without my coaches.
Oh, you know what? I do have one other thing because you talked about it in the middle. We talked about like healing from that anxiety that you went through and stuff. Do you have any like process that you do to like reflect on, like, or just like, do you journal, write down your thoughts or anything like that?
Yeah, I've started to journal more because I've noticed that my brain works in like a hamster wheel and I can go down these like deep cycles and then I like say something out loud and it sounds ridiculous. So just writing my thoughts out. And I tell myself a lot of times, like, just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
One day at a time, you'll figure it out. And I just say like, everything always works out because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So why worry about it?
Yeah, for sure.
Focus on today.
That's a hard thing to get caught up in. Like tomorrow, tomorrow is an important day, but we have to get through today first, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Maddie, I love that outlook on things. Just thinking about today, let tomorrow come when it comes, and like just helping other people out, man. Maddie, thanks for coming on. I think it's been a great episode.
Absolutely. It was fun speaking with you.
Yeah, buddy. Peace out, dogs.